Cool, they finally did it. They made it make sense. We finally got to the point where it has been revealed what the Jedi have done. Now, it goes without saying that in order for me to discuss this thing, I cannot actually talk and review this episode of The Acolyte without going into spoilers. So, if you haven't seen any of The Acolyte, or if you haven't seen this episode and you don't want spoilers, I'm sorry, this episode may not be for you. Just hit the notification bell or hit the subscribe button and come back to it as and when you have seen it or when you're ready to watch it. But you should do that anyway, because if you are new to the channel, I still see a lot of you 90% of you watching still haven't hit the subscribe button, so it would be really appreciated if you would hit that button just to help me out. And now, with all of that shilling out the way, allow me please to discuss how they made it make sense. And I obviously need to preface this with, just because something makes sense, that doesn't mean that it's all of a sudden epic or good. It just means you've strung your narrative together. It may or may not, stay tuned to find out, make the narrative good or bad. Just because it makes sense, don't make it good. That's like minimum standards, Matt. But between more twins, M values called now, midichlorians. Jeez, they brought midichlorians back in this episode. They just didn't call them that. Sexy Sith, death by bugs, visual noise. That there was so the power of one, the power of few, the power of many. There was just so much bad in this season of Star Wars, and yet there's been this lingering thing in the background throughout, which is just, what is it the Jedi did that is so bad and that they're trying to cover up? Well, now we know. So here's the thing, and it makes sense, kind of. So this episode was kind of just giving us an alternative take of what happened in, I think it was the second episode where we got the Coven of Witches, wasn't it? The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Pretty sure it was the second episode. It was second or third. Either way. Yeah, no, it was the third, wasn't it? Because they released first two among us. Either way, doesn't matter. Not important. We saw it from the Witcher's point of view. This time we see it from the Jedi's point of view. Now, effectively, what's happened here is that we found out about something called a virgins, a powerful force thing, a powerful force virgins. It's literally what they call it, an action of the force that creates life. And they tell you this in the first 2 minutes. So me there with my big boy hat on, I'm thinking, cool. So May and Osha are made by the virgins. 30 minutes to tell us, May and Osha are essentially made by virgins. Okay, cool. We find out that there's going to be a sacrifice amongst the Coven of Witches. And it's important for me to say this because it will explain something that I've seen people online saying, well, that doesn't make sense. Because the big thing that they cover up, this is the spoiler part, the big thing that they cover up is that Sol was the one who killed the girl's mother. You know, it was always a bit of a hard pill to swallow that fire that May started really killed the entire Coven. It was like, ugh, really? I'm not fully buying that. Turns out it wasn't May at all. It wasn't the fire at all. It was the Jedi. But it loosely, like, in terms of going, you know, lacking nuance and saying this means this means this means this, therefore it makes sense. Yes, this plot makes sense. Sol is told, the Jedi are told that there will be sacrifices. The Jedi are under the assumption that their girls are going to be sacrificed. There is a scene when they are having a showdown with the Coven of Witches, where Anisha, I think she's called, the girls, one of the girls' mothers, goes into this big kind of spooky shadow form, and that's when Sol strikes her down because he's got the anxiety, he's got the fear. Fear leads to anger, the big theme. He's got the fear that the girls are going to be sacrificed and the mother is attempting to do so. He gets it wrong, and the mother tells him instantly after she's been struck down by a lightsaber that I was going to let her leave and join you all along. So now he has to live with that regret, and now we find out why he's such a tormented character. Okay, fine. That kind of makes sense. Now, what about the rest of the witches? Well, here's where it kind of now falls apart. Here's where it now falls apart and it starts to get itty bitty. We get flashbacks and forths between May and Osha. The fire still doesn't make sense. The building is made of stone, and yet they're showing this fire spreading. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is just physics, guys. Like, what is the fire actually catching on? It's stone. Stone doesn't burn with a little flame like this. Like, that didn't make sense. You've got this scene with the Padawan boy deflecting arrows from the witches, and yet not a single one of the witches has the genius idea to fire a single arrow at Sol. More plot armor, courtesy of the Acolyte. And oh god, and then you've got the entire coven. We're told they're 50, although we never see them in that sort of number. But you see the coven doing their swaying, and I'm like, don't you dare do the power of many. But what so happens is that they're trying to do a Jedi mind trick on the Jedi, but just a witch's version of that. Now they did it to the Padawan earlier in the episode. He's now solidified his mind and he's resisting. Why? Because the plot says he has to do so. And who so happens to fall under the witch's Jedi, but not Jedi mind trick? Cal Naka, the Wookiee Jedi. And to all of the people with two brain cells out there who will be going, oh my god, we finally get to see it. The Wookiee Jedi wielding a lightsaber. Should have been cool, right? Here's the problem. It's once again a case of visual noise. Because now what you're trying to tell me, as cool as the visual images of seeing a freaking Wookiee wielding a Jedi, the visual imagery is cool. But now we have to dig beyond just the pretty noise, the visual noise, and look for some substance. Here's where it falls apart. Because what you're telling me is that this Padawan, who has already in this episode proven that he can be susceptible to the witch's Jedi, not Jedi mind trick, he can resist the witches, but this full-fledged, powerful Wookiee, which some cynics may argue, yes, but the entire coven had to bind together to control him. It's like, sure, but he's meant to be a Jedi master. He should be wise to these tricks. Nope, it's fine. So the Wookiee proceeds to beat the living crap out of Sol and out of Padawan boy, whose name I can't remember, forgive me. And then Indara, played by Carrie Ann Moss, shows up, and a simple hurrah! She frees Kalnaka from his Jedi mind trick, and we're meant to believe that in that moment the entire coven is wiped out. It's not implied if her releasing Kalnaka from the Jedi, not Jedi mind trick kills the coven, but they certainly all collapse. And a scene after that, Sol runs past them and goes, "Oh!" in huge surprise, as if to say, "Oh my god, they're all dead." So the implication is that they've been killed, but the fact that they've been killed by Indara reversing the Jedi, not Jedi mind trick is like, oh god. And then the final scene comes, and we're told, okay, so Sol is in full remorse, and he decides to make the decision of, we need to tell the council what happened here. And then Carrie Ann Moss takes it, well, Indara, sorry, takes the executive decision of no, because now what you'd be doing is the girl who's lost her entire family would also lose her Jedi Master. And so the big bad thing that the Jedi have done is three parts. They've got involved when the council specifically told them not to. They didn't listen. As a result of their involvement, an entire coven of witches has been eradicated at best, and at worst, murdered, flat out murdered. And the third thing they've done is that they have framed May for the downfall, for the death of the coven. So they've put the blame onto an innocent child. Not very Jedi-like. So if the whole premise of the show was to show that the Jedi are not in some parts very Jedi-like, we know. We know this. That's what led to the downfall. Their hubris and arrogance is what caused the order to fall in episode 3. We know. We didn't need 7 episodes with a loose fitting narrative and sexy wannabe Sith Lords to tell us, hey, the Jedi sometimes cover up bad things they do. That's essentially what this whole episode is about, to say, hey, did you know the Jedi sometimes do bad things? Now, if we look for the poetry in this and realize that actually it's kind of deep, it's kind of, well, deep in the in the street sense, not deep as in it has great narrative depth, deep as in the sense of, Jesus Christ, adults are literally framing children for their own shortcomings, kind of messed up. Okay, and the Jedi have murdered people. Okay, we know the Jedi did some bad stuff. Once again, I'm in a place where it's like, you've made the narrative stick. the death of the Coven isn't that big a deal to me because you've never presented them as a big deal in the show. The details of like stone burning and the entire Coven being wiped out by reversal of the Jedi, not Jedi mind trick, and the visual noise insult again to us as fans with brains. It just, all in all, just makes me go, "Ay, okay, yes, well done for making the show stick and telling me that Jedi sometimes do bad stuff and cover up their tracks. Damn, you took a long time to make that point. That literally could have been done as a YouTube reel. You could have said that in one moment. Hey, once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away. Did you know? But no, it's taken an entire show minus one episode to do that. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't anywhere near the worst episode I've seen. But it's just so very like, okay, bit underwhelming, bit cool. If sure, okay, it sticks, but so what? I don't know, man. What did you guys think? Leave your thoughts down below. I wasn't hate watching this episode, but I really was just like, oh, okay, no big deal, I guess. As I said, leave your thoughts below. Please, again, if you haven't subscribed, there's a subscribe button for you right here to check out, and it would be really appreciated if you could keep on the channel, watch the video that's up above here, and I'll see you all very soon right here on the Silver Screen Dudes. Well, next week at least, definitely, for the final episode of The Acolyte. Bye for now.